Hey, we have a very special interview today. We have Jasmine Calgaro from the Ray White and Nepean Group. Obviously, she represents a very special member of the Ray White network. Not only is she in the top 1% of performers, she's only been out on her own for about 3 years now and doing more than 130 deals per annum out in her #1 suburb of Cranebrook. So thank you for joining us here today and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
So we've got a lot to talk about today, and the reason I thought that speaking to you would be such a cool story to share with everyone is because you're really early into your story. And the story has, been coming for a long time. You got into real estate, we're about 18 years old?
I was 19,
19 years
so
old.
7 years ago.
Why don't we talk about where we got started, right? Straight out of school, working in Hoyt Cinema, and then straight into real estate. Well, what made you get into real estate? Why did that become the decision?
Yeah, I wish I could say that I had always wanted to do real estate, but it just wasn't the case. I was working at Hoyt and then also went into uni to study policing. I was in a bit of a rut. I was hating it. It just wasn't me. Uni in general wasn't going to work for me. I just wanted to get out and work. So honestly, I remember just wanting to get into something pretty quickly, and real estate was that. I just loved it from day one though. So I remember I did my interviews and I got my job with the Ray White offer, and I also got an offer with Wisebury. Yeah.
I'm really interested because we were talking earlier and, obviously your parents wanted you to go into university, you'd been to a good school, they sort of had a pathway for you. It must have been interesting or hard maybe to be a young lady going against your parents' wishes to go into real estate. Can you talk about that conversation?
Yeah, it was a hard conversation. My parents were so upset with me when I pulled out of uni because they had, worked really hard to put me into a good school, and their idea of success was university. I remember my mum saying, I don't really know if real estate, if there's money in real estate, she just didn't know anyone in real estate or what that looked like. But turns out, I love it, I'm good at it, and I'm so glad I took the leap.
And we were talking about, the conversation you had with your mum in preparation to this meeting and, some of the traits that you, I guess, just take for granted. And where did they come from? Something I find so interesting is speaking to people like you that are so young, so ambitious, and sort of, I guess, figure out what they really want in life really early in life.
Yeah.
What do you sort of put that down to? I mean, most of your friends are probably still just sort of finishing uni themselves, starting their own careers, whilst you're obviously 4, 5, 6 years into it.
Yeah.
What was that journey like, especially as you were sort of, 18, 19 and 20 and really pushing your own path?
Yeah, it was a difficult time because I didn't have a lot of support from my parents at that stage, but I didn't want to get stuck 4 years into a uni course and then think this is not for me. I'm glad I figured that out pretty early. I just wanted to do something where I could not be limited in where I want to be. I wanted to do something where what I love about real estate is the harder you work, the more you can be successful.
Yeah.
So I thrive off that. So and I love that there's a lot of targets to hit and things like that because I need that structure, and that's why I love real estate.
But you've always been this kind of person, whether you realised it or not. You're talking to me about when you worked at Hoyt's even.
Yes.
You thrived on targets and goals, and again, it must have been so odd for so many people that were, your peers that were sitting there, they probably couldn't care less about hitting targets or goals, yet for some reason, upselling products was something that you found challenging and exciting.
Yeah, I've just always been like this. I think real estate has brought it out in me more. But even going back to my first job at Hoyt's, and wanting to get a job as soon as I was old enough, I just wanted to get out there and work. And it was little things, upselling combos and selling rewards cards or whatever it was. But I was getting praise on how well I was doing, and I definitely thrive off that as well. And real estate is much the same. You do the numbers, you hit your targets, and the rest just all falls into place. And I love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
So when you got started, so much of it could be chance, it could be luck. You obviously interviewed with a couple of different agencies and you stumbled into perhaps Ray White.
Yeah.
For someone looking to get into the industry, and no doubt you get approached a lot about, a young woman wanting to break in and do what you've done. How much do you think is sort of nature versus nurture when it comes to selecting the right agency? I mean, you obviously had a few options. Yeah. What was it that made you select, your employer?
Yeah, so at the time, I remember getting a job offer just the day before I got the offer of Ray White. And I was thinking about going for it, but I wanted to hear back from Ray White first, because even as a 19-year-old with no real estate experience, or I've never bought a house or anything, I still very well knew that Ray White was the big guys, you know? And I knew that just looking at, you know, the sales in the area and everything, Ray White was very go-to real estate.
Yep.
And that's what I wanted to be surrounded by. I wanted to be surrounded by winners.
Yeah, that's cool. But you've had a couple of changes in sort of leadership, mentorship, structure as well. But let's just start with the beginning, which is you obviously started as a sales associate working with a small team.
Yes.
What were kind of the duties that you got started on, and what kind of opportunities do you think you were exposed to by working within a smaller team that you might not have working inside of a bigger environment?
Yeah, so when I got started in Ray White, we were a very small office. There was Ray White, Wellington County, Ray White, Glenmore Park, and I was at the Glenmore Park office. Across the two offices, I think there was about 9 people in total, including sales, property management, and admin. So it was a very small office, but there was another agent who employed an assistant at the same time as me, and I think we worked really well together. We went out door knocking together. I had a buddy to do everything with, and I loved the healthy competition side of things. But yeah, Ray White definitely set me up with the structure that we had then. But even then, I didn't realise that there was still so much more to real estate. You know, once we merged offices with the MacArthur Group, I saw a whole new world to real estate, a whole new side of it.
What was it that the MacArthur Group bought specifically that you really changed the culture and really allowed you to level up?
Yeah, so they just had more structure, I think. You know, the owners definitely monitor the numbers on a weekly basis, and you get the praise for doing it. And again, like I said before, I thrive off doing the numbers and then some.
Yeah.
I'm an overachiever in that sense. So MacArthur definitely monitored it down to the T, and I loved that. So them taking us over was awesome because, like I said, we're a very small office. I was with the salesperson for 3.5 years. There wasn't much talk about me going out on my own. I just sort of was content with where I was at. But when they took over, they saw something in me that, you know, I didn't clearly.
Wow.
And they pushed me to, into sales. And I feel a lot more confident since working with them.
So I'm really interested, before we obviously talk about you going out on your own, is sort of, you mentioned that one thing that the MacArthur Group brought that was so unique was they not only celebrated the role of the associate, but they made it really clear what success looked like in that role. What kind of KPIs did you get started on? What did success look like when you were an associate?
So the main thing was the connects. You know, you do this many connects a week, the rest will fall into place. And we just kept it really simple. If I did those connects, I knew that, and if I did those amount of buyer appointments, I knew that I would make this many sales and I would make get this many appraisals and so on. So they just kept it really simple, and I needed that. So it was 2 10-a-week connects that we had to do, whether that was through buyers, through sellers, whatever. But
didn't matter who you spoke to, so long as you were talking to people about real estate.
as long as you were asking them, you know, do you have a house to sell?
Right.
You know, like getting in front of people. And I mean, I was good at that. I loved to door knock. I loved to deal with buyers. So yeah, it came easily to me, quite honestly.
And you mentioned that you not only tried to do the numbers, but always add a little bit as well, right? How much did you think it played a role in having someone to chase or someone to lead, so to speak, in terms of that, whether it be accountability or whether it be just the team environment where they set the pace for you to obviously chase?
They did just that. They set the pace. I think I got a little bit complacent with the original owners of the business because it wasn't a high growing environment. Whereas when the MacArthur Group integrated with us,
They set a new benchmark.
They set a new benchmark. There was these other PAs doing the same role as me, but on steroids. And they were only purely prospecting and buyers, you know, but before I was doing admin and stuff as well for my agent, and it just wasn't where I wanted to be. So once I got to just do the prospecting and buyers side, I was thriving. I loved it so much.
Now, you said that even to this day, you're a door knocker.
Yes.
You love to door knock, and again, I just can't imagine, right? Door knocking is something I've done myself and seen so many people try and do. It's hard, right?
It is. You're going to
get told no a lot. Takes a lot of confidence. You get told no a lot. You know, you said you started when you were about 18 years old, so I'm imagining now an 18, 19-year-old out in the western suburbs of Sydney, going out, granted not by yourself, with a team member, and knocking on doors and meeting people for the first time. I mean, did you just have blind courage, or is this just something that, you know, what was the story? How did that make you feel?
I think once I got past worrying if somebody was rude to me,
Right.
or in the very beginning I could let that ruin my day, and then I soon realised it said more about them and the day they were having, and I'm not going to let it affect mine.
Yep.
But when it was the small wins, when someone finally said, yeah, we actually are thinking of selling,
Right.
it just gave me the momentum to keep going. So, and I'm definitely the type of person, I just want to speak to someone face to face, hence why I was a door knocker.
Yep.
And I was really good at getting people to open up. They might be a bit standoffish when they first answer the door, but it didn't take long for them to warm up to me.
That's a great skill set to have, and whether it be the smile, the approach, whether it be what you have to say. Tell me a little bit more. I always think about door knocking is you sort of have to gamify it a little bit. You sort of have to make it into a bit of a challenge to sort of get that connection, rather than just being a salesperson per se. What was it that what was your approach? What were you trying to say? What were you trying to achieve?
I was just always friendly, whether I was finding someone selling or just booking in an appraisal or just getting their data to continue that relationship.
Yep.
I just wanted to walk away with one of the three.
Yep.
So it just came down to, I was never pushy. I would always just have a good chat with them first before I started to, do you want to sell? That would never be my first go-to.
So what was the first thing you were trying to achieve? You knock on the door, they open the door. What would be the first achievement? What's the first
The first
box
thing
to
I
tick?
always do is compliment something on the property.
Love that, yeah.
Always start the relationship strong. It's hard for them to be mean to you after that. And then just start having a conversation with them about the one that just sold down the road or the one that we've just had come on the market. Whatever my script was, it always started with a compliment, and then it would go into some information for them. Having a good chat about how it compares to their property, whatever it was. And then once they start warming up to you, that's when you go in and
ask the actual
exactly.
question. It's the old jab, right hook approach,
and I
right?
think some agents are very just to the point, but you've got to have the relationship before anything.
I love that strategy. I think so many people can learn from that. Almost be distracted, make it conversational about them, add value, and then ask for what you want first.
That's
what a great
right.
structure. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly right.
And you're saying this is, you've now grown a team, which we'll get to talk about later, but you're still approaching their growth by getting them to door knock as well.
Of course, yeah.
And you're still door knocking even
Every
with
now
your
and then,
success.
Yeah.
So, far out, would you suggest that, there's other people out there cold calling or SMSing or, it's funny, in modern real estate, you sort of see all these young people come in and do amazing things to do anything, but just speak to people.
Yeah, it's literally our whole business. You just need to speak to people. In my first year, my goal every day was just speak to 50 people today.
Love that.
So if I knew if I spoke to 50 people a day, everything else would fall into place. And there would be days where I would speak to 50 people, maybe even more, and get nothing. And, sometimes it would get me down, but I had to snap myself out of that really quick. And then, because your mindset's everything as well. If I went into the next day with a good mindset, it's all right, today I'm going to get an appraisal or whatever, it'd always come to me. It would always
See,
come
I love
to
this. So a couple of things you've actually said a few times is angling what your success actually is. It could be too easy to say, I need a listing today, I need an appraisal today, I need data today. When what you're saying is, if I can speak to 210 people a week, or if I can speak to 50 people in any given day, it will fall into place. I don't know how, I just know that's where the magic happens.
I just trusted the process, because I can't control on a weekly basis how many people are going to want to do an appraisal or sell. But I just knew if I just met this many people, and then from there I can continue those relationships, and which I did, and it all fell into place eventually. And it was hard in the first year, but I just had to keep reminding myself everything I'm doing right now is so that I don't have to do it forever.
Love that advice.
Yeah, so obviously I was hustling hard, 7 days a week work, door knocking every single day. As much as I enjoyed it, I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life, and now I'm at the point where, that's great, and I've got my team to help me with that, but I'm also getting caught into a lot, and I've been dreaming for this moment.
See, it's so funny because people that haven't been paying attention might see your sudden rise. Look, you've been someone that ever since you've gone out your own has managed to literally double the volume of business you've done every single year, to the point that, like we said, 136 deals last year, which some people can never build in a whole career. So you've said something just then which I think is so potent, and just as we were speaking earlier, this is not just something you're thinking about in business but in life, which is this idea that if I do the work now, make the sacrifices now, then I have choices later.
That's right. That's exactly right. And
love that.
Yeah, that first year, I just had to keep reminding myself, it sucks. People are telling me no, and I'm not getting all the listings I want to get. I'm getting told no because I am young or whatever, but I just had to remind myself, just keep going. It will pay off. And now to be in this moment, having this chat with you is incredible.
So here's this idea. I could want to continue talking about how you got started because, again, the opportunities that you've now been afforded have happened because of all the uncongratulated ideas and work. And back when you first started, you didn't have a lot of money, you didn't have a lot behind you.
No.
It's not like you had, your parents topping money into your career. They didn't even want you to
Definitely
do
not.
it when they first started. I'm sure they changed their mind now.
Now they, yeah.
But, I loved an idea you talked about earlier, which was, you needed to find a way to speak to people. You had to be creative, think outside the box.
Yep.
And you came up with a good idea of leveraging social media to get in front of people.
Yep.
Can you share that story?
Yeah, so I didn't have a huge budget at the beginning. I had just gone into sales. I hadn't seen a commission check yet.
Yep.
And I didn't want to invest money yet because I was saving for a property. So I decided to ask my mum, she was working at a leagues club, if she had anything I could give away. And she had 6 Panthers jersey. Now, being a Penrith-based agent, these were a hit. So basically I put up a Facebook post and did a bit of a giveaway. And I attached a Google form which just said, fill in your details, you just name, suburb, and do you want a market appraisal? This will count as an extra entry.
Love it.
Yeah, so I think I got like 25 appraisals out of it. So it was pretty cool. Now,
amazing.
The house we're sitting in right now is one of the people I met
Wow.
3 years ago through that giveaway. So, yeah.
You've got so many stories like that. That's obviously just one, but again, you mentioned that something you focused on, and again, playing the long game about relationships. When you first started, those door knocks, those appraisals, those giveaways, the buyer work is something I want to talk about especially.
Definitely.
Again, how many times did you go and do exceptional buyer work just to find out that you actually didn't get remunerated till maybe 4 or 5 years later?
Yeah.
You're telling a similar story there about some of your most recent clients for someone that you actually assessed to buy back in the beginning because you outserviced their current agent.
That's
Can you share about that story?
Yeah, so in my first 3.5 years as a PA, I formed some beautiful relationships with people. People that are now, they call me their agent. There was Amanda and Nigel. When I'd met them as a buyer, they had just put their house on the market with another agent, which of course I was devastated to hear, but it didn't matter. I didn't want something out of them right in that moment. I was showing them tons of houses, and towards the end of the process, they said to me, "You've done more for us than our own agent has." Unfortunately, I ended up buying off another agent as well, which they were devastated about. But since then, I've sold 5 of their family and friends' houses that they've referred me into because they call me their agent still to this day, even though I didn't help them with either transaction back then.
Wow, so that's really this idea of the law of reciprocity, right? If you can go and do exceptional work and just be a good human, genuinely try and help, you don't know whether it's going to happen now, 2 years or 5 years. Yeah. It all comes back to you, right?
That's right. And it just came natural to me because I just wanted to help people.
Wow.
I loved the buyer side of things. If I have any advice to somebody that's dealing with buyers, over-service them because yes, they might not have something for you right now, but that just goes to show they've given me 5 family and friends referrals in the last 3 years. It's pretty incredible. But remember the small things. I had a pretty good memory, so I didn't need to do this as much, but put the notes in your phone, the kids' names, the dogs' names, everything you can remember, put it in there because save their number in your phone when they call you. It's the little things that they all will remember.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I know interviewing Kevin Choksky from Victoria, he has a phrase that thoughtfulness doesn't have a schedule, and it's just genuinely interesting and caring about people that actually creates these relationships.
Yeah, exactly right. And it just came easy to me.
So I want to start to talk about the transition out. Obviously, you've been given these great opportunities, this fantastic structure, keeping your business incredibly simple and numbers focused. That's what got you started.
Yes.
But now you've got to go out on your own. How old were you when you decided to step up?
I don't know if I decided, but the business was definitely pushing me in that direction. And I'm so glad that they did, but I was 23.
23 years old. Okay, so you've been getting started, you've been hustling, but you're within the security blanket of a team, and that's cool. You've now been nudged out because perhaps they saw a bigger future for you than you did of yourself at that point in time.
They did.
Do you remember your first listing?
Yep.
Where did you get it from? What's the story?
It was a buyer.
It was a buyer.
It was a buyer. They were actually on the market with another agent at the time and just not getting anywhere, unfortunately. And again, it was another situation where they felt like I was servicing them more than their own agent was.
Give me an example of this service, because you're obviously doing a great job of that.
Yeah. So with buyers, it was literally, I wouldn't say every day, but every second day I would be calling them. Have you seen any houses you like? I'd send them other agents' listings with confidence because I knew they weren't going to go with them in the future anyway because I over-service them now.
Love that.
But just the little things, like the amount of times people would say to me, like, that's not even your listing, but I just would always be thinking about them. It's really not that hard, and more people should do it.
So you just built up a network of individuals by working with buyers because that's the unloved element of the business. Everyone's looking for sellers and you're just servicing the buyers that actually need help.
Buyers know people. I've sold, I've had young buyers that are first home buyers, and you think, well, they're like a lot of agents might think, well, they don't have anything for me, but I've sold so many of their parents' homes and things like that. So just think bigger. It will always come back to you if you're just a genuinely good person and agent.
So when you first got started, you've moved into a suburb of Cranebrook.
Yes.
Which you now hold over 30% market share. I think you said you sold over 70 properties there, 76, you'll correct me, no doubt.
Yeah.
Your nearest competitor's only about 7 properties, which speaks for itself in terms of how you continue to build leverage.
Yeah.
You obviously worked within another market where your current, employers had you.
Yes.
It must have been hard to go and start from scratch.
It was. I remember being at the Glenmore Park office and being alongside Rob and Michael, and as much as they were supportive of me being out on my own, I always felt like I was going to sort of be in their shadow because they had Glenmore Park down pat, and I just sort of wanted something for myself. So when I caught wind that we were going to be purchasing the Penrith office, I thought, this is my chance. I'm going to move over there, be more central to everything.
But you're effectively starting from zero.
I was, yeah.
Right.
So, I still got a little bit here and there from my relationships in Glenmore Park over the years as well, but I just decided that I just wanted something for myself, and Cranebrook seemed like an area that no one was dominating it. There was a few agents here and there that had 5 properties, 6 properties, but no real agent was looking after the suburb as a whole. And it's 5,500 houses. It's a big market, and you can go from like the 2-bedroom property to public housing to residential to acreage. So it was something I really wanted to crack into, and my parents lived there, so I knew people. I went to school nearby. It just seemed like a good opportunity for me.
And you've just had Emma from your team step out and actually go out on her own, which is a compliment to your structure and leadership.
Yeah.
She's now doing the same thing as well, right? It's something that people are always scared about when they grow and nurture someone, that they're going to effectively become your competition, while you've managed to help another individual go out and do this on their own. What was sort of your advice and structure when she was within your team to prepare her to go out into another sub-market?
Yeah, so about a month or 2 before she was planning on going out, I said, I'm happy for you to start focusing on the core area that you would like to focus on.
Love that.
And I think that she saw the success that I had from doing that, and she knows the importance now of having that core market. I really gave her that advice, like pick an area and just smash it. Of course you want to sell in all areas, but just have your core area, because that's how you get those call-ins, and once you've got your name out there, of course. So that was my advice to her. Just go pick a patch and just hustle.
To that element, I remember when you first started, you were telling me something outside just before, that your number one goal of every listing was that you would not stop working that listing till you've identified another listing.
Yes.
Talk about that sort of journey. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I used to have a spreadsheet with all my listings. At this stage, there wasn't many of them. So I had a lot of time to focus on each listing. With the buyers that I met, the door knocks that I did, whatever it was, I made sure that listing turned into, I would tally how many appraisals I got out of doing that, and then I would also tally how many listings I got out of it. And it was
you
just
love your numbers again, right?
I do. I like ticking things off. I like my list of just, now I can close that one off, and then I work on the next one. So I think I definitely thrive off just seeing the progress in a spreadsheet form is always nice for me. So.
And it's so interesting because, again, when we were talking again outside, it was this idea that it's to keep your business simple, to know what your numbers need to be. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Whilst technology is great, if you know how to use it, sometimes just having a simple system works the best.
Yeah.
Can you talk about, obviously you've built this reputation, you've built this name, but compared to some of the other agents we interviewed, your marketing budget's not that big.
No.
But your ability to identify sellers, service sellers, and build that a list of opportunities from just leveraging what you've already got, that's your business model now, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And I think it is really about keeping it simple. As you know, I was a little bit nervous to do this interview because I feel like I haven't done anything special, I guess. But I just kept it simple. I just followed the numbers every day. I'd pick a patch every single day, I'd door knock it, and I'd cross it off my list until the whole suburb was done.
Incredible.
You know, just kept it very simple. I knew if I did that, that's what I did in Glenmore Park as an assistant until I had finished the whole suburb. I got all the data, I got everything I needed to start working on more door knocking, and then I had my database of people to go. I just kept it simple. That's all I needed to be here right now.
And I want to sort of start to finish up on this kind of idea of building scale, because you've grown faster than most. Again, most people don't even get to their whole career and get to this volume of sales that you're doing, which is an incredible credit to you. Now, when most people do grow at this pace, the wheels get wobbly and start to fall off.
Yep.
Now, again, a compliment to you. You've done it so young. You've managed to grow a team. Talk to about the systems that you sort of put into place for your team that, again, kept it simple, but made sure that your structures could scale up to now 60 deals, 80 deals, 130 deals, and whatever number you're about to do this year.
Yes, yeah. So I got to a point in my first year, I was about 10 months in, where I realised that if I wanted to keep my customer service level the way I had previously, I needed help. So I ended up putting on my first PA.
How old were you then?
I was
more or less
23 still.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I wanted to do it for a while, but I was putting it off. And again, my bosses gave me that gentle nudge that I needed. We had to go through a few PAs as well until I found the right fit. And so just keep that in mind if you're thinking of putting someone on. But yeah, I just had to get help because I didn't want my customer service level to fall down when I knew that that was half the reason I was getting to where I was. So I got help. Now I don't get to door knock as much as I would like to, or how much I used to, because I've implemented the team to help me with that sort of stuff. They help me with buyers, they help me with looking for new leads, and then I've also got Tanya, as you know, my EA. So
what I think makes this interview so special, and I might have said this at the start, maybe I didn't, but is this idea that you've only just really started breaking through. And I know that what you're capable of and where you're about to go is, I mean, only just getting started. But you'll also just come through all of these barriers so quickly. So they're still so fresh and new to you. There's so many other people that maybe they're within their first 2 or 3 years of real estate. There's other people that are just thinking about stepping out on their own. There's other people which are just thinking about getting started, and they want to say, well, how can I mimic this scale and this growth and this tenacity? What advice do you give those people?
Just do the numbers, just speak to everybody you can. You know, I mentioned earlier as well, like I would have my mum at her work have appraisal forms on her desk or in the staff room. Like, think outside the box, do the giveaways if you can, do what you can, but just speak to as many people as you can every single day, and the rest will fall into place. I definitely, also if you are a young agent like me, start to stick up for yourself. I think in my first year, when I would be told that I was young, inexperienced, or something along those lines, I would just be like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't know how to react. And then there was one day where I just decided to stick up for myself. And I said, you know, they said they were going with another agent because I was too young. And I said, you're right, I am young. I have a lot of energy. I'm hungry for it. I have no kids. I have no partner. I'm literally going to give you my all. So please reconsider your decision. And they did.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so just stick up for yourself. There's nothing wrong with being a young agent.
And the last piece is obviously the sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
You know, one thing that we did talk about, and maybe it's a bit of a vulnerable piece, but is the reality is you did sacrifice and have sacrificed and remain sacrificing a lot to get with where you want to go,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. I mean, I left a 3-year relationship to focus on my career when I stepped into sales. And then from there, like, there was no such thing as a day off because I just knew that if I just focused for one whole year, I would be here right now. My first year was just I saw that Michael and Rob had this incredible business where they were getting caught into things all the time, but I knew they didn't do that overnight. So it was all about just getting my name out there as much as I could, so that in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, in 5 years' time, I'm getting caught into stuff. It's more organic, you know. I don't have to be running 1,000,000 miles an hour like I once was in my first year. So just sacrifice that first year or however long you need. Just don't give up.
I love it. There's so many incredible lessons that we could probably talk all day about, you know. Make sure you choose the right leaders that are going to support you, that are going to nudge you forward and believe in you. Know your numbers and just focus on the right numbers. build a team
Yes.
as soon as you can,
Yep.
as soon as you start to drop off service.
Yes.
The gold lives in the buyer work. I could keep on going,
Yep.
but Jasmine, you've been so generous with your time. Obviously, you're only just getting started, and thank you so much for being so open with your story so far. All the best for the next year.
Thanks for having me.
No problem at all.